Ladies and gentlemen, it would take a full feature film length screenplay to properly introduce our next speaker. He has called himself a forever optimist, and that optimism stood him in good stead as governor as he worked to tackle problems that had plagued politicians in what is America's perhaps most complicated state for decades. Excellent training, no doubt, for the fight that he is waging now as a climate action hero. Notwithstanding his global commitments, his Austrian roots continue to run deep. And that's what we see now in this short film that was brought to Vienna by the governor of the region where the founder of R20 was born. Let's take a look.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's Austrian home in Styria is known as the Green Tech Valley. Green technologies made in this innovation hotspot are helping globally to save 550 million tons of CO2 a year. That is 40 times more than the region emits. Together with Governor Hermann Schützenhofer, these innovators have planted 20 oak saplings, which are going to grow into strong, beautiful trees, symbolizing powerful climate protection. Just like the Austrian oak, Arnold Schwarzenegger found new roots in California. We need to think and act big for a sustainable future. We are the family of global pioneers and a strong partner of the R20 Austrian World Summit.
So a very, very personal, regional greeting there for a leader who has put regions and cities at the very forefront of the fight against climate change. A warm welcome, if you would please, for Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Recht herzlichen Dank für die nette Einleitung. Ich werde zuerst ein paar Wörter in Deutsch sagen. Es ist wirklich wunderschön und fantastisch, hier in meinem Heimatland wieder zu sein, in Österreich, speziell hier in Wien. Diesen R20 Austrian World Summit, ein Initiative gemeinsam mit dem österreichischen Bundespräsident Van der Bellen und dem Bundeskanzler hier in Österreich aufzubauen, das ist für mich wirklich eine fantastische Sache und wirklich sehr gut für den Klimaschutz. Ganz besonders freut es mich, dass wir fantastische Unterstützung von so vielen Regionen haben, hier in Österreich, besonders aus Wien, Niederösterreich und natürlich mein Heimatland aus der Steiermark. Alle drei Bundesländer sind großartige Vorreiter bei der Umsetzung von Klimaschutzprojekten. So vielen Dank auch an Generalsekretär der Vereinigten Nationen Gutierrez, dass Sie heute bei uns sind. Willkommen nach Österreich. Und auch recht herzlichen Dank auch an Prime Minister Rasmussen aus Dänemark und Prime Ministerin Solberg aus Norwegen. Heute haben wir hier mehr als 1200 Teilnehmer. Und das ist ein starkes Signal aus Wien für Klimaschutz. Und wir haben auch hier heute sehr viel Presse. Und ich möchte Sie erinnern, das ist nicht the fake news, this is the real news right here. Jetzt ist restlich in Englisch. Thank you very much for the wonderful introduction. It's really wonderful to be back here in Austria, my home country, and to have this annual summit here. It is really unbelievable when you think about that. Just a few days ago, I was told that I cannot fly to Austria for this summit because of my heart surgery. But I knew that I'm going to make it because my will and my positive thinking, I always know that I can do it. And so I did it. But what is important is, and why I'm so happy today is because the surgeons, before they performed the surgery, they said to me that we're going to do everything we can to keep you alive. And I said, why is that? And this is because you are the only Republican with a heart. You're an endangered species. Anyway, that's what you always do when you start a speech. You warm up the crowd a little bit with a joke. Anyway, President van der Bellen, thank you very much for your partnership. And also thank you for your friendship. You're a great champion of our environmental movement. And this is the reason why last year this was such a huge success, this conference. And this is the reason why it is this year even bigger and better. So thank you very much for your great partnership. And Chancellor Kurz, I'm proud that you have partnered with us in the summit. You are proving to everyone around the world that the environment is not a political issue, that it's a people's issue, it's a health issue. You and President van der Bellen may come from different parties, but you both agree on a need for a clean energy future. So thank you very much for that. A big hand for the Chancellor for being here today and partnering with us. And I love that you're here today for another reason, and that is that you cut the average age of those of us on stage in half. So thank you very much. I mean, this is wonderful to have someone just in the early 30s to be here. So thank you. And Secretary General Gutierrez, I want to thank you also for sending an incredible message here today by joining us. The United Nations has led the way in the battle for a pollution-free world for years. And I cannot thank you enough for your great leadership. You have jumped right in there where Ban Ki-moon left off, fighting for clean energy all over the world. So a big hand to our Secretary General. Now look at this room here. We have over 1,200 environmental crusaders here, representing more than 70 nations. 2 presidents, 3 prime ministers, countless of environmental and energy ministers, and more than 2 million people watching from home. Now that is what I call action. But this action would not be possible if it wouldn't be for one extraordinary woman, a smart woman, a woman that is very passionate about the environment, and is a great organizer. And I'm talking here about Monika Langthaler, right here in the front row. Monika, get up. You and your team have worked throughout the year, every single day. I know the amount of phone calls I get from you, the amount of letters and emails and FaceTime and all this. So I know you're working every day on this. So you and your team should get a big round of applause. So let's give them another round of applause for the great work that you're doing. And there's a lot of great energy in here. But despite the great energy here, too often at these summits, we make a big mistake by playing the victim. Too often we act like we're losing the battle to fossil fuels. Too often we play defense instead of offense. I say no more. The day we go on the offensive, the day we say to the defenders of the old order, You cannot hide from the future. Today, we no longer are the victims, we are the victor. The best lesson of my life I've always learned in sports. There's one thing I learned very quickly as a weightlifter, which was half of the battle is believing in yourself. If you don't believe that you can lift that weight, you're not gonna lift it, trust me. It's not gonna move overhead by itself. So ladies and gentlemen, we have a huge weight to lift, but together we can do it, especially if you have that confidence. It is time to start acting like it. It's time for less whining and more action. So stop whining. Believe me, my confidence isn't misplaced. All over the world, in the cities and states, in colleges and universities, at companies and nonprofit organizations, we are already winning. Don't be frustrated that some leaders are stuck in the past, because there are many leaders all over the world filling that vacuum and fighting for a clean energy future. Did you see, for instance, President Macron of France going to Washington and speaking to the United States Congress and telling them there is no planet B and we must make the planet great again? That is what I call confidence. And that's exactly what we have to do in order to really make our CAP 21 become a reality. But of course, we cannot just rely on the great activity that is on the world stage, which is fantastic. We can't just rely on what's happening from country to country. But as governor of the great state of California, I know the power of subnational governments, the power of the cities and states and provinces and neighborhoods that control 70% of the emissions. And I've seen firsthand as governor of the great state of California how we fought the federal government, how we fought Washington when they told us we're not allowed to implement our own environmental laws. We took them to court, and we took it all the way up to the Supreme Court of the United States, and we won. That is the kind of power subnational governments have. And now we can control our own destiny. And at the subnational level, there's so much green success all over the world. Let me just share with you a few examples. I mean, right here in Austria, the state of Lower Austria, or also called Niederösterreich, achieved 100% of renewable energy in 2015 already. And in my home state of Styria, the Panda project, which will create a statewide network of electric charging stations every 15 kilometers, so that drivers can switch to clean electric cars. So that's just the action that's going on here in Austria. And I want to say thank you to Landeshauptmann Schützenhöfer for his great vision and his great leadership. Now, they're planting also oak trees and all kinds of things all over the state of Styria. And right after this speech, when I'm finished, we're going to sign an agreement between Styria and the R20, our environmental organization that specializes on subnational governments, because they're going to join us. And on the other side of the world, in California, Governor Jerry Brown has continued the landmark policies and environmental goals that I fought for as governor. And he has aimed even higher. California is now on track to hit our goal of 50% of renewables a full decade early, by the year 2020. Which is helping us achieve our goal of cutting our greenhouse gases by 25% also by the year 2020. So as you can see, California doesn't just promise, but we also deliver. And we don't only just deliver, we deliver early. So I hope this is a lesson for the rest of the world. And you know something? Business is booming. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is because we were told so many times by business leaders when we passed these environmental laws that business is going to go and leave the state, that the unemployment rate is going to rise and people are going to move out of the state, and it will be the end of our economy. And quite the opposite has happened. California's economic growth beats now the United States GDP growth. We are now the 5th largest economy in the world, ahead of Great Britain, the UK, France, India, Brazil, and Russia. Think about that. As the state of California, we could be a nation state. We attract over 50% of the clean tech venture capital in the United States, even though California only represents 12% of the United States. Our unemployment rate is at a record low, and jobs in green energy continue to explode. I read an article just recently about the huge number of our oil workers transitioning to better paying jobs in the solar industry. Now this is very important because California is one of the biggest oil producing states in the United States. So to see oil workers transitioning to solar, that just shows where we are heading in the future. And in China and India and the United States, South America and all over Europe, there are shining examples of regional governments leading the way. But the interesting thing is that the private sector is moving even faster towards the clean energy than the public sector. Walmart, the world's largest brick-and-mortar retailer, has an ambitious initiative called Project Gigaton to reduce emissions by 1 billion tons by the year 2030. Now think about that. Now we all know that when Walmart talks, suppliers and manufacturers all over the world listen. And here's another big one. Apple announced last month that their global operation are now powered 100% with renewable energy. Isn't that unbelievable? So every time you use an iPhone or an iPad, it should remind you that we are winning this battle. Every selfie should make you more confident that this revolutionary product was manufactured by clean energy. So we have so many victories all over the world, but we must also continue our fantastic momentum. Now today, I would like to lay out 3 concrete steps that we can take to ensure that we continue winning. The first step is something that I've talked about for years. That is winning the communications war. And what I'm talking about here is that climate change, we all know, is a serious, serious threat. But we cannot be stuck only talking about sea levels rise and icebergs and temperature changing. All of the things that happen down the line. Because interesting enough, the human brain is wired to focus on immediate threats, on the here and now, not what happens down the line. To win over the people, we must start talking about what is happening right now. And there's a lot happening right now. Right now, 9 out of 10 people breathe polluted air. Right now, pollution kills 9 million people every single year, 24,000 people a day. So while we're having our conference here today, another 24,000 people die. It kills 3 times as many people as HIV, AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria combined. It kills 15 times as many people as all wars, murders, suicides, and every form of violence. That's what we should be talking about, not what is happening in the future. Not the tragedies that's coming up in 20 or 50 years from now. We must share the tragedy of the day. And there's one organization that's doing an extraordinary job on this. And this is the World Health Organization. They're doing incredible work on this, and I want to say thank you to Dr. Naira and Dr. Tedros for their great, great leadership. Let's give them a big hand. And we must continue to help them get this message out there. Now, the second step is sharing our ideas with each other. Around the world, different cities and states and countries have already tested and pioneered fantastic policies. We don't need to reinvent the wheel here. The blueprints are out there waiting to be copied. To put the spotlight on green policies, the Schwarzenegger Institute at the University of Southern California has launched a digital environmental legislative handbook. It's a fantastic resource for city and state leaders to share their laws. If you want to write a law to transition your city streetlights to LEDs, or if you want to copy California's renewable portfolio standard, you don't have to start from scratch. You can go online and download the full law and the research that is behind it. What do you think? We in California, we came up with all of our own environmental laws? No, we copied. We copied other countries, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Norway, Germany, Japan, copied all of them. As a matter of fact, our cap and trade system, which is the best in the world, is a copy from European countries. Tony Blair helped us to perfect it because the Europeans made some mistakes early on. But he helped us perfect it, so we have the most perfect cap-and-trade system, so we copied it. And the same is also in bodybuilding. What do you think, in bodybuilding, I invented the curl or the bench press? No. I took magazines and I read what previous champions did. I copied those exercises. And then I became the champion, and then I started changing and developing my own training principles and shared those with the rest of the world. So there's nothing wrong with copying. And the third step is funding clean energy projects around the world. There are leaders around the world who have shovel-ready green projects, but they don't have the funding. At the same time, there are investors hungry for clean projects, but they don't have the projects. They can find the projects, shovel-ready projects. That's why the R20 today is launching a program to connect the two, the investors and the shovel-ready projects. It is our job to connect the smart money with the smart projects. So the bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, is if we keep refining our communications, and if we keep sharing policies, and if we keep investing in the future, make no mistake, we will keep winning. To those of you who are watching at home, who are nervous about the future, to those of you who resist because you can't imagine success without fossil fuels, we ask you to join us. Everyone, also you, President Trump, join us. You said when you become president, you want to have so many victories that the American people will get sick and tired of winning. Well, if that's really what you want, then join us, because then you will have a lot of victories. We stand at one of the great turning points in human history. All of us gathered here today know which side of history we are on. So the question is, which side will you choose? The losing, polluting past, or the winning, clean future? Today we choose a world powered by green energy. We choose the future. We choose to win. Ladies and gentlemen, we choose to make the planet great again and healthy again. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Many, many thanks, Governor Schwarzenegger, for those inspiring words and for bringing that spirit of Californian optimism right here to the heart of Europe, to the Hofburg.